So story time. So my last level up log, we talked about failures, and I wanted to give a story, an example from my life of how you can use failures to change everything. So this story is going to take place in high school. I was a soccer player in high school. Um, and it starts out my freshman year where I tried out for the soccer team and I made JV. I was super proud of myself because typically when you're a freshman and you're trying out, usually you don't go straight to varsity unless you're good enough. Usually you start with JV and you move up. So I started on JV and we had a good season. I think we had a couple more wins than we did losses. Wasn't, a tremendous season, but it was a good season. Um, and so come senior or not senior, come sophomore year, we had tryouts. And typically when you were on a team last year, the tryouts are always a little bit not easier, but you have a better um, feeling going into the tryouts because you were on a team, so you showed already what you could do with some of your skill. So I was somewhat confident going into these tryouts. Still a little nervous, but somewhat confident. And so it's a 3-day tryout. We get through day one, day two, day three. Um, I felt okay about the way they went. I thought I would make a team because I was on a team last year and whatnot. So I was somewhat confident that I'd be on a team. And the way they do it is on that third night, you go home, and about an hour and a half after tryouts, and they send an email out with the list of the players that made the team. So yeah, I go home, I take a shower, I'm eating some food, getting ready for this email to come out, feeling confident that I'll probably make probably JV, probably not varsity, probably JV again. So I wait, and finally that email comes out, and I remember looking through the list, waiting to see the name that I recognize, my name. And the further I get down the list without seeing my name, the more and more I could feel my chest kind of tightening up a little bit. And finally, I get to the bottom of the list, and sure enough, my name's not on there. And I just remember this crushing sensation in my chest, as if like my world was just flipped upside down, and I was just devastated. And it hurt, man. Like I remember I teared up. My parents, they tried to comfort me, but I was pissed. I was upset. It really hurt. And the next few days, a lot of the kids that I played with and whatnot, they came up and they're like, "Hey, man, we think it's bullshit. Like, we think you should have made it. We're really sorry. Like, we just think it's really stupid you didn't make a team and whatnot." I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's whatever. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is." And so I want to say for a week or two, I was just upset and I didn't know what to do. And then there was one day where I was like, you know what, dude? I love soccer. I love playing. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let this define who I am. I'm not gonna let not making a team define me as a person. And in that moment, this switch just flipped in me, and I was like, I'm gonna use this to my advantage. And I'm gonna work my ass off. I'm gonna get a lot better, and I'm gonna make a team next year. And that's what I said to myself. And then for the next 7 months, about 7 months, every week, 4 or 5 times a week, I was training. I was getting better and better and better and better. And I remember, and I'm blessed to say this, but my parents were able to afford for me to do a one on one training session once a week. So I was doing that. I was training on my own. I was doing everything I could to get better. I was still working out in the gym, trying to get stronger. Everything I could to get better, I was doing. And I worked and worked and worked my ass off. And then come January, when the tryouts are, I was ready. I was like, this is not going to be the same as it was last year. And I showed up. I didn't need to talk to anybody. I didn't need to feel uncomfortable or awkward around the coaches. I knew I was there and I meant business. And I knew that I was a different person than I was last tryouts. And sure enough, I dominated, man. I was doing great. I had the coaches impressed. I had the people that I played with before, I had them impressed, man. I worked my ass off and it paid off, and it showed in those 3 days of tryouts that I was better than what they labeled me as the year before. And there was a specific moment where all that hard work, all of that effort I put into training and getting better, there was a specific moment that just made it all worth it. And that was at the end of that third night, before everybody was sent home. The head coach, his name is Coach Gross, great coach, great guy. He pulled us all into a group, huddled us up, and he was talking and going over some stuff. And he was like, "I just want to say, if you don't make a team this year, do not give up. Do not let it drive you away from the sport of soccer. Work, train, get better, come back next year, and try again." And he said that, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's true, That's exactly what I did. And he said, and this is what really hit me, he said, and I say this because there's a specific example of someone here tonight who decided not to let not making a team last year define him, and obviously worked very hard and became a different player. And this year he's going to be making varsity. And that guy is Logan Sanford. And he looked at me, and everybody looked at me, and that didn't matter to me. What mattered was that I knew the work that I put in was more than any other of those other kids put in. And it paid off right then and there, because it wasn't the recognition that felt the greatest. It was the fact that I knew how hard I worked after I failed and after I faced that adversity. I knew the work that I put in, and to see it come to light in a scenario like that and show everybody that just because you don't succeed at first doesn't mean if you don't work hard, you'll never succeed again. And so that was one of those moments where I was like, everything I had worked so hard for paid off right then and there. And we went on to have a fantastic season. We went to the Final Four of the state tournament, and then the next year, my senior season, we went undefeated and we won state. Only team to do that at that school for men's soccer ever. So I was a part of his historical team for that school. And it was all because I failed and chose not to let that failure define who I was. And instead, I instilled something in myself that drove me so hard to succeed. And that's what it led to. It led to me being a part of a historical team at that school. So what I want you to learn from this story, and what I learned from this experience, is that failures do not define who you are. What defines who you are is how you react. And there's a famous quote from Rocky Balboa, the movie's Rockies. It's not about how hard you get knocked down or how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up and you keep moving forward. And that's all it is, man. That's all life is getting knocked down and picking yourself up and continuing to move forward. So take that from this video and just Instill that into everyday life, man, because you will get knocked down. But pick yourself up and keep moving forward.